Hello, you absolute legends. Well, they are back at it again. The biggest conmen in video game history have filed even more lawsuits in retaliation for their fake scores being removed. By now, you're almost certainly all familiar with Billy Mitchell, the disgraced Donkey Kong player and star of King of Kong, who was exposed as cheating in many of his records. I've already covered his current lawsuits against Twin Galaxies in previous videos, and he has now filed a $100,000 lawsuit against the current Pac-Man World Champion, David Race. The reason for this lawsuit will blow your mind with its stupidity, and we will take a look at it later in the video. The list of victims that have been attacked by Mitchell through the legal system continues to grow, and he is utterly out of control. Considering the damage Mitchell has caused so far, I actually think I've been pretty restrained in my coverage, but now things are getting a bit too ridiculous. The man is trying to ruin lives, and I'm now of the opinion he is legitimately evil, and hopefully something can be done to stop him soon. But perhaps one of the more shocking developments is a new lawsuit from none other than Todd Rogers. In 2019, I released a video called The Longest Con in Video Game History, which outlined the story behind his dragster world record. In a nutshell, Rogers claims to have the longest world record in video game history, which later turned out to be completely impossible. But dragster wasn't his only impossible claim. Rogers submitted thousands of scores to Twin Galaxies, with absolutely zero evidence to support any of them. Over the years, many of his scores were proven to be physically impossible. Alongside Mitchell, Rogers was also banned from Twin Galaxies after an extensive investigation into his scores. While he always denied he was lying about his accomplishments, Rogers never appeared to be as villainous as Mitchell, as he seemed to just slip away into the darkness, never to be seen again. But he has come roaring back, and wants to prove to the world that he is just as big a scumbag as Mitchell. He has now filed a $500,000 defamation lawsuit against Twin Galaxies, Guinness World Records, and Jace Hall, the current owner of Twin Galaxies. I am honestly clueless as to what he expects to happen here. Rogers' claimed scores have been thoroughly proven to be impossible by many independent experts. It's plainly obvious that this lawsuit will go nowhere, and I don't think he quite understands what the repercussions are when he ultimately loses. In any case, this lawsuit is arguably more insane than Mitchell's, and in this video we are going to learn why. So please buckle up, because the deeper this rabbit hole goes, the weirder it gets. I hope you enjoy. Now, legends, if you want to become legitimately good at something, unlike the subjects of this video, you need a great teacher. And that is where this video's sponsor, Skillshare, comes in. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers thousands of classes for pretty much anything you can think of. I am always preaching about becoming more productive, so I recommend you take the course Productivity Masterclass by Ali Abdaal. It's a really entertaining and inspiring course, and you'll learn a ton of principles that will help you get more out of your day. Whether you are into animation, web development, or music, Skillshare has everything you need to reach the next level. Skillshare is extremely affordable, and the first 1,000 legends who click the link in the description will get 30% off an annual premium membership, so you can explore your creativity. Even if you've already had a free trial, you can still take advantage of this offer to get a full year of unlimited learning. Todd Rogers is the antithesis of Billy Mitchell. While being a part of the same clique, he never achieved the same kind of fame that the star of the King of Kong experienced. Rogers is a far less marketable figure, and though he did appear in the documentary Chasing Ghosts, it was more or less to demonstrate how much of a shamble his life had become since his glory days of gaming back in the 80s. Compare that to Mitchell's appearance in the same documentary, where he attempts to flaunt his apparent rock star lifestyle. Todd does not exude success, but in the relatively niche world of retro video game high scores, he was a celebrity, and would often be seen tagging along with Mitchell to various video game exhibitions. Apparently, event organizers even paid him to show up. I doubt the compensation was substantial, but who could complain about getting paid to attend a video game convention? Rogers was most known for his dragster world record, and I'm sure you've all heard the story by now. His claimed score of 5.51 seconds was proven to be physically impossible. There is literally no way a score that fast could ever be attained. It's simply prevented by the game's code. This was demonstrably shown by multiple independent parties, and there is just no doubt to their conclusions. Once the first domino fell, it was game over for Rogers, as more and more of his scores were shown to be absolutely impossible to achieve. On the 29th of January 2018, Rogers was officially banned from Twin Galaxies, and the decision summary outlines two main concerns that led to that decision. The first was the agreement of results from numerous parties confirming that 5.51 seconds is not an achievable score. The second was referee testimony that seemed to confirm that Rogers had a history of entering many of his own scores. Guinness would follow up this decision by also stripping Rogers of his award for the longest standing video game record, and posting a small blurb in their Next Gamers edition, which said that Twin Galaxies confirmed the time was not technically possible. Fast forward to 2021, and Todd Rogers has lawyered up and filed a $500,000 defamation lawsuit against Spectrum Business Ventures, who were the previous owners of Twin Galaxies, Guinness World Records, and Jace Hall, who is the current custodian of Twin Galaxies. Whoa. Wait a minute. Todd Todgers? You can't be serious. Did he really misspell his own name? You might think this is fake, but I've pulled this document directly from the Florida courts. Todd really did misspell his own name in the lawsuit filing. Definitely not off to a great start. The case laid out in this filing is very poorly written and lacks the fundamental basics required for a successful defamation claim. For example, the first most obvious inclusion to this kind of legal action would be the specific defamatory statements themselves. However, this filing doesn't include any. It does state that Todgers has suffered significant loss of reputation due to statements on social media by SBV, but no examples are provided, likely because they don't actually exist. It states that Twin Galaxies posted an article entitled "Twin Galaxies Drags to Dispute Concludes with the Banning of Todd Rogers," but again, it fails to disclose what the defamatory statements were. I can only conclude that this is because the article did not include any defamatory statements. If you read the article yourself, you'd be inclined to agree. Out of the three defendants, Guinness is the only one that sees one of their statements included. Todgers provides a snippet from the Gamers Edition where they explain that Twin Galaxies informed them that 5.51 wasn't technically possible, so they removed his award. An important thing to remember about defamation suits is that truth is an absolute defense, meaning that if the statement is factually accurate, there is simply no case against it. Everything in this paragraph is verifiably true. Twin Galaxies did notify Guinness that 5.51 wasn't technically possible. There is nothing here that is even remotely false. Given the fact that Guinness only repeated what Twin Galaxies told them, I really don't see a case here. I'm guessing this is just another attempt at strong-arming them into giving him back his record, which is exactly what happened when Billy Mitchell threatened to sue them back in 2019. Suing Twin Galaxies is especially egregious, though, when you realize just how far they went in order to help Todgers clear his name. The initial spark that led to the entire investigation of Todd's dragster record was the findings of OmniGamer, who disassembled the code and calculated the best possible time as 5.57. He also created a spreadsheet which mimicked the game perfectly, so you could just manually place inputs at which frames you like, and it would immediately tell you the result of the race. Over the next 6 months, multiple independent parties would also do their own analysis of the game's code and confirm that 5.51 wasn't possible. They also rigorously compared OmniGamer's spreadsheet against actual hardware and found that it was a perfect match. Essentially, all technical analysis of this problem resulted in the same outcome. Todd's score is just not achievable. However, Twin Galaxies didn't want to just take the word of relatively unknown figures on the internet. They wanted to hire an expert to validate the findings. So they paid for the help of Ben Heck, a well-known console modder and computer engineer. Ben made a couple of videos covering the investigation, and openly stated that he was asked to do so by Twin Galaxies. Not only this, but Twin Galaxies flew Todgers first class to appear with Ben Heck and allow himself to prove his innocence. In total, they spent $10,000 on this. And again, this was purely to try to help Todgers clear his name, as extensive testing had all but confirmed that his record was not possible. Ben Heck's testing showed that OmniGamer's spreadsheet was accurate, and Todd failed miserably in showing that better than 5.51 was achievable. In fact, even though he could manually enter any input he wanted, he couldn't even get close. It was clear that his understanding of the game fell well short of the experts who had already chimed in with their conclusions. So it's pretty incredible that after spending 6 months investigating and thousands of dollars on expert analysis, Twin Galaxies is now being sued by the very person they were trying to help. Todgers claims that Twin Galaxies posted their article in order to bring traffic to the website, and that they made over $1 million from it. Man, if exposing a has-been gamer that literally no one outside of the retro video game high school community has ever heard of can earn you $1 million, where do I sign up? This claim is obviously ridiculous, and just goes to show how big of an ego he has that he thinks he is this important. The reality is that Twin Galaxies doesn't earn money from its website. It doesn't even run ads. In fact, it doesn't really earn money at all. The simple truth is that the owner of Twin Galaxies, Jace Hall, just wanted to know if the scores were possible, and when the evidence said they weren't, he banned the player. There really isn't much more to it than that. I previously said that Billy Mitchell's lawsuit against Twin Galaxies was the dumbest in video game history, but Todd's might be just a bit dumber. Unlike Mitchell, Todgers has literally no videos of any of his high scores, nor were any of them ever publicly achieved. He claims he has witnesses, but none of them ever step forward because they are imaginary. The moment this is seen by a judge, Todd will be destroyed, and I am very much looking forward to it. Now on to everyone's favorite villain, Billy Mitchell, who has filed a new lawsuit against the world's best Pac-Man player David Race. Race holds the record for the fastest ever perfect completion of Pac-Man, attaining the maximum score possible in 3 hours, 28 minutes, and 49 seconds. When the Donkey Kong scandal first began taking shape, Race was an avid Mitchell supporter, and would often write lengthy Facebook posts defending him. Mitchell took notice of this and got in touch with Race, allowing him to be part of Billy's team that was trying to disprove the cheating allegations. Race would ultimately spend months testing the exact hardware Mitchell supposedly used to create his scores. Mitchell even provided the exact arcade board that he claimed to have used. It was originally David's intent to prove Mitchell's innocence, but alas, the more he investigated, the more he realized that Mitchell's story couldn't be true. There is just no way the footage of the scores could ever be replicated on original arcade hardware. Despite the tests concluding that Mitchell's tapes were not from a Donkey Kong arcade, David still felt that there were other possible explanations for the discrepancy, such as video editing or tampering with the tapes. Perhaps someone who wanted to frame Mitchell devised a genius scheme. However, this theory was also debunked when an MTV video from 2006 showed Mitchell's score before anyone else had access to it, which also showed all of the hallmarks of emulation. In the end, David couldn't help but agree with the assertions that had already been made. Mitchell's performances were not produced from an original arcade, and there is just no way the tapes that Twin Galaxies possess were tampered with. But this didn't stop Mitchell from taking some of David's earlier comments and using them out of context to try to support his own claims. Mitchell's evidence package asserts that Race believes the technical analysis was inconclusive, but his current opinion couldn't be further from this, now that all of the facts have been presented. After David's comments were misconstrued by Mitchell in the Twin Galaxies lawsuit, David began providing testimony in defense of Twin Galaxies. In his sworn testimony, he states clearly, "It is my opinion that the video game recordings of the disputed score performances cannot have come from an original, unmodified Donkey Kong PCB." This began a tangential war between Mitchell and Race in the lawsuit, with Mitchell claiming that Race gave a fraudulent declaration in an effort to seek revenge. As is always the case, Mitchell paints anyone who thinks he cheated as just having a vendetta against him. It can never simply be that they examined evidence and came to the only reasonable conclusion. This epic side battle is far too involved for me to break down in complete detail, but the crux of the matter is that David ended up releasing a recording of a phone conversation between him and Mitchell. In this conversation, Mitchell explains to Race a scheme to create a new videotape and claim it as the recording of one of his disputed scores. More specifically, the score of 1,062,800, which to date does not have a full public video. This conversation was entered into evidence to both show the deceiving nature of Mitchell and to illustrate how close the two men were. It is this exact recording that has landed David on the receiving end of a $100,000 lawsuit. Mitchell is claiming that it was illegal for David to record the conversation, but unfortunately for him, David resides in Ohio, which is where the call was recorded. Ohio is a one-party state, meaning that it is perfectly legal to record a conversation if you are one of the parties involved. Mitchell claims that because he called David from Florida, which is a two-party state, David should be subject to Florida law, which just isn't how it works. Mitchell's filing even admits David was in Ohio at the time. Aside from the ridiculousness of the main claim, the filing contains insane lies that are plucked out of thin air. For example, it claims that after first meeting Mitchell in 2010, David Race then joined the Pac-Man community to pursue his own high scores in the footsteps of Mitchell. But David was already the best Pac-Man player in the world by the time they met. In 2009, he already held the record for the fastest ever perfect completion. Trust me, I've studied all of Mitchell's lawsuits. There are so many crazy lies, it really boggles the mind. He has absolutely no inhibitions about constructing fake stories that are incredibly easy to disprove. I am personally of the opinion that this new lawsuit is just another attack on someone that Mitchell wants to hurt for speaking out against him. Now, let's do a quick rundown of all of the current legal action Mitchell is taking. He is suing Twin Galaxies in California for $1 million for removing his high scores and saying they weren't achieved on original hardware. He also filed a $10 million lawsuit against them in Florida. He is suing Jeremy Young for $1 million, who was the person who originally declared that Mitchell's tapes were performed on emulator. He filed a $2 million lawsuit against Jeff Harris, who owns and runs Donkey Kong Forum. This is the official Donkey Kong High School leaderboard that all of the top players use. They are being sued for removing his scores and allowing posts outlining the evidence that Mitchell cheated. He also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as frivolous as the rest, and Apollo definitely would have won in court, but again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress. Mitchell threatened to sue Guinness World Records, causing them to cave in and reinstate his fake scores. He also hired a lawyer in Australia and threatened to sue me, trying to extort me for $150,000. In all likelihood, if he is not stopped, he probably will sue me eventually. And now, of course, he is suing David Race for exposing him and helping Twin Galaxies with their lawsuit. It's really important to remember that Mitchell has never had a lawsuit actually go the distance and result in his favor. In the past, people would get too scared and comply, until he went up against the new owner of Twin Galaxies, Jace Hall, who is anything but a pushover. The only lawsuit that actually ended in a judgment was Mitchell's lawsuit against Cartoon Network, which he hilariously lost. And trust me, he is going to lose every single lawsuit from here on out. People are fed up with being pushed around and they are beginning to fight back. Unfortunately, fighting requires money, which is why I have launched a GoFundMe to support victims of Billy Mitchell's frivolous lawsuits. Money is really important for two main reasons. The first is that we can provide good quality lawyers to ensure that the lawsuits are defended successfully in a swift manner. Secondly, lawsuits are extremely stressful, and any support would go a long way to help the victims deal with these attacks in good spirits. The priority at the moment will be to help David Race, Jeremy Young, and Jeff Harris. Any surplus funds will be used to aid Twin Galaxies in their defense, or to help myself if Mitchell takes action against me. I really also want to give back to supporters, so backers will gain access to regular video updates that I will provide, going far more in depth into the status of all of these lawsuits. If you have any other suggestions about ways I can add value, or ways you think we can help, please let me know. All of Billy Mitchell's victims are just huge fans of competitive gaming. They have devoted their lives to it, and are just doing their best to ensure that fraudsters like Mitchell are removed from the community. They don't deserve this at all. And although it might take a little bit of time, patience, and money, Billy Mitchell will be stopped, and he will be forced to face the consequences of his actions. Remember, when he does ultimately lose, he will need to pay back every single penny that was spent defending against his frivolous lawsuits. I really do appreciate all of the help. As always, thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, you absolute legends. The madman finally did it. On the 13th of September 2021, the speedrunner Karl Jobst achieved this lawsuit. Until now, Billy Mitchell had only made threats about suing me, but he finally pulled the trigger and has made it official by filing a complaint in the District Court of Queensland, which is the state in which I live. It's been a pretty crazy week because on the exact same day that I was served by Billy Mitchell, I was cancelled. Yes, that's right, cancelled. It's game over. A small group of people have been trying to cancel me for a while now, and their campaign has finally cracked the big time. Normally I wouldn't pollute this channel by responding to this kind of drama because it's almost entirely made up of lies and false narratives, but they have started to make insane claims about my family, even making fun of my 1-year-old son. So I thought I should talk about it, as it's also an interesting case study on how people buy into and accept things as fact without a second's thought. Even though the majority of this cancellation is based on lies and mischaracterizations, there are also some valid criticisms as well. So today we will look at both sides, the crazy, insane lies, and also the genuine concerns that I actually agree with. But first, let's take a look at this lawsuit. Normally, I'd give you a full breakdown of this kind of thing, but because this one involves me, I'm going to keep my cards a lot closer to my chest. What I will tell you is that I am being sued for defamation, and the amount of damages being sought is $450,000. I will definitely be giving you updates as we go, but I don't want to give out too many details or strategies before I use them in court. Defamation lawsuits are a bit different in Australia because we don't have punitive damages like the US. In America, you see lawsuits where people are demanding millions of dollars in punitive damages, and punitive damages are designed to punish the defendant for wrongdoings and dissuade others from taking similar actions. Australia really only has compensatory damages, which are designed to mitigate any damage caused, whether that be emotional or economic. So if Billy Mitchell wants $450,000 in damages, he'd need to directly show that something I've said has caused him to lose that much money. That's going to be a bit of a struggle, given that Billy Mitchell doesn't really have much of a reputation to destroy by this point. Not only does the public widely accept that he is a serial liar and cheater, but he's also being sued for millions of dollars for fraud. Billy Mitchell already sued Twin Galaxies and many other people for destroying his reputation, citing massive economical loss. There are only so many times you can claim that a party has destroyed your reputation before it no longer holds any merit. Aside from this, I have multiple defenses. I never make claims without ample evidence to support them or some kind of justification. When I do get something wrong, I would always be happy to admit it. In fact, I even made a clarification to something I said in a video that Billy Mitchell said was wrong, which I will link in the description. I am a big fan of discourse, and am generally always willing to listen and consider the other side of the story. It doesn't mean I'll accept it or agree, but I have a very open mind and will listen as long as the discussion is respectful and sincere. As everyone knows, lawsuits are extremely expensive. If this goes the entire distance, the final price tag could be well over $100,000, especially given that I have a really good team of lawyers. A lot of people have offered support, and I'm definitely contemplating doing a GoFundMe, but I feel really bad doing so, given that I did one just a few months ago for the other people Billy is suing. As I've mentioned before, Minecraft creator Notch has pledged to help and has been doing so. But again, I feel bad taking money from anyone, no matter how wealthy they might be. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do, and I will definitely be providing updates as the lawsuit progresses. A big thank you for all of the support, it is truly appreciated. I just hope this legal attack doesn't take up too much of my time so I can continue to produce videos. Now onto this cancellation. A few people in the speedrunning community have been trying to cancel me ever since I started making content on YouTube, for reasons we will get into in a moment. Until now, it has never really impacted me and I chose to ignore it, because I felt like it was spurred on by bad faith actors and trolls who simply didn't like me and were trying to find ways to make me look bad. But recently, I did get impacted. I had just started a podcast with another speedrunning content creator, Tomato Anus, and we had recorded a few episodes. Then, last week, he got sent screenshots from someone hoping to make him disassociate with me, which he did, announcing his decision on Twitter. This tweet then gets posted on Reddit, which is where things get crazy. People flock to the topic, posting insane, made-up, false claims that just blew my mind. Interspersed is some valid criticism, but from what I can tell, it appears to be mostly an intentional smear campaign by a group of people hoping to cancel me. And the crazy thing is that people who are reading the comments just accept everything as fact without asking any questions. So how and why did this happen? It goes back to November of 2018, when another GoldenEye speedrunner, R.White-Goose, got banned from AGDQ after a massive collection of screenshots was made public, showing him saying terrible things in his Discord between 2017 and early 2018. And these weren't just terrible things, they were really, really terrible. Goose was ostracized from the community and labeled a Nazi. This all relates to me because I associated with Goose online, and in the screenshot dump, I was in one of the screenshots. In the album of 150 pictures, I appeared in one. What I said wasn't good, and I will talk about it later in the video, but the thought process for some people was that because Goose said bad things in his Discord, that made his Discord a Nazi Discord. And because I appeared in one of the screenshots, that meant that I was in a Nazi Discord. Essentially, it is guilt by association. I interacted with someone who said terrible things, and I was in his Discord, so by extension I am terrible. The truth, however, is that I was very rarely even in his Discord, certainly not while everything was going on. The screenshot I was in was captured in May of 2018, which was later than all of the other screenshots. For the very brief time that I was in there, I realized it was a degenerate place and I left. I didn't know about the true extent of what was said in there, but based on what I did see, I knew it wasn't a positive environment and I left. Even if I were in there the entire time, which is not true, it's extremely disingenuous to claim that people know what is said in every Discord server they are in. I'm in 50 servers, and I only really read one, which is my own. I have no idea what is said in other servers, nor should I be expected to. There were thousands of people in that server because Goose was one of the biggest speedrunning content creators at the time, and most people had no idea what was going on. I did eventually find out everything shortly before things became public, but by this point in time, Goose was coming to me and asking for advice about how to apologize, disavow what he had previously said, and make a positive change. I agreed to help him, and he seemed sincere. I have chat logs from before everything became public and before he was banned of me advising him to apologize, close his Discord, disavow what he had said, and I was also helping him to make amends with people he had wronged in the past. We had even organized a live stream on the 30th of November where he was going to publicly apologize and disavow everything, but 2 days before that happened, everything blew up. Even though the truth is that I wasn't in the Discord, I didn't know what was being said, and when I found out, I was actively telling Goose to disavow everything and apologize. The narrative that they are trying to spin is the complete opposite. They are claiming that not only was I in the Discord, but I also knew and even endorsed what was said. I know there is a percentage of the population that thinks you should completely cut off people who have bad views, but I don't agree with that. For most of my life, I've wanted to be a psychologist. I studied psychology in university. I wouldn't be a very good psychologist if I refused to speak with or help people with unhealthy ideas. Goose himself even stated afterwards that my role was always to try to help him move forward in a more positive way.
Who in the community has influenced you the most? This is all from a guy named Xfinity. Who in the community has influenced the most? Honestly, it really has to be Karl. Karl has always been there for me when I fucked up, and he's always been willing to teach me things and lead me on a better way. And that's not just I know people have asked about me and his stream over the past couple of months, and he said, yeah, I talk with Goose every day, and we're gonna get on the right track and move forward in a good manner. But even in the past, when I've fucked up, he's been there for me and tried to steer me down the straight and narrow, right? So
now, just for full transparency, I'm not friends with Goose. I haven't associated or even spoken with him in well over 2 years, but I didn't make a big spectacle out of it or virtue signal on Twitter, and I had absolutely no interest in talking about it until I was forced. Yet people to this day continue to spread false information about our relationship. let's take a look at a few more lies that are being spread. People were saying that I pressured my wife into getting breast implants. When I read this, I was blown away because my wife doesn't have breast implants, nor would I ever suggest or want this. I wouldn't change a single thing about my wife. I had absolutely no idea where this was coming from. Then I see this screenshot being shared around as proof. Now, I must warn you that my sense of humor is crude and immature when I'm around friends, despite what I may put across on this channel. If you don't like crude humor, I apologize, and I wish I didn't have to share this, but unfortunately I don't have a choice given the disgusting and vile nature of these accusations. In my Discord, I mentioned that I was at the hospital because my wife had to get surgery, and someone said, "Here I was thinking you were finally getting the titty implants." Someone else said, 12-inch cock and double D tits would make Karl unstoppable. And I replied, if YouTube keeps getting bigger, the titty implants are gonna happen. Even without the context, it's obvious they are talking about me getting breast implants, and it's incredibly disingenuous to take it any other way. I had a running gag on my Twitch channel that the only way my stream was ever going to grow was by getting breast implants. I even set up a mock donation incentive. It never had anything to do with my wife. This theme of taking jokes that me and my viewers make around each other and warping them to mean something else is standard practice for these people. Another running gag on my Twitch channel is penis jokes. Almost all of the emotes on my Twitch channel are eggplant related. The humor lies in the fact that it's so ridiculous and so stupid. It's parody. It's self-aware in its absurdity. Some of them are pretty creative though. This one is called Arnold Schwarzenegger Eggplant, and it's objectively the best emote on Twitch. I even have this chat command, and what I'm about to say will shock the people that take things like this seriously. My penis isn't really 12 inches long, and Twin Galaxies didn't really verify to 1982. This is actually a penis joke and a Todd Rogers joke in one. How they spin these types of jokes is insane. In one screenshot, I show some Chinese medicine that my wife got me because she thought it would help us conceive. After my friend mentions Chinese and Australian, I reply with half Chinese, half massive cock. So they spin this to be racist apparently, and claim that I'm saying this about my son, which makes no sense. We hadn't even conceived. There was no son, there wasn't even a sex yet. I could have been having a daughter. This has nothing to do with a boy or a girl or a penis. The joke is that my race isn't Australian, my race is massive cock. Again, it's absurdism. It's a long-running joke between friends, and notice the same person that I said it to repeats a similar joke back to me later on. The speedrunning Reddit also attacked my son's name, who I mentioned would be taking his mother's surname because I don't associate with my father. They attribute the surname Wong with penises, and the oblivious racism on their part is astounding. I named my son Maximus because it means the greatest, and he is the greatest. And those people going after him because of his name are just indescribably terrible. As a side note, in Chinese culture they actually say the family name first, and his Chinese name is Wong Chun-hee. The lies continue. One person claims I was racist against the Super Mario Bros. Speedrunner, Lakuki, in a leaked Discord voice chat. This is entirely fabricated. Anyone in my Discord knows I never use voice chat. There has never been a leak, nor have I ever been racist or even insulted Lakuki. I really like Lakuki, and given that we are friends, he himself messaged me saying this was bullshit. A couple of bright sparks did ask for evidence, but of course, none is provided, because it's a complete lie. Another liar claims I asked for nudes in my stream, and again, I am left having no idea what is going on or where this is coming from. I would never ask for nudes, and if anything like this ever happened or was posted, I would never ever approve of that or let it stand. These obsessed haters love to intentionally take screenshots out of context and give them new meanings. In this screenshot, I mentioned that I'm married and have been with more women than some undisclosed party. Apparently, this is me bragging about sleeping with many women and having the regressive mindset that having sex equals quality as a person. But I wonder what the context is here, and I think the context might be enlightening. If you go and read the actual conversation, I was responding to this. In another GoldenEye speedrunner stream, he and his viewers were trying to make fun of my appearance, saying that I looked like an albino with cancer, and that I don't go outside. Well, the reality is that I am very white because I do have cancer. My body is covered in massive scars from countless surgeries to remove cancer, and I've had to deal with it my entire life. Due to my condition, I do try to avoid the sun, as recommended by my doctors. I'm not looking for sympathy or anything, I'm just giving you the context around my response. I would never randomly brag about something like that, nor do I think it's even something anyone should ever focus on. And those who really know me well would tell you that I value character more than anything else, not these superficial things. In this particular instance, however, I was taking a stab at less than reputable people for attacking me over something so juvenile and close to home. My point was that despite the fact that I look like an albino and I do have cancer, I've still done well for myself and I'm living a great life, because those things really don't matter. There are even more batshit insane claims, but I'll stop there. You get the point. Of course, everyone believes everything instantly, and the people making the claims know it. No one asks for context, no one cares about the context, they simply enjoy the feeling of going after the villain of the day. With all of this being said, there are definitely things I've said and done in the past that deserve criticism and I need to apologize for. Earlier I mentioned that I was in one of the screenshots from the R White Goose leak, and this is what I said. This is from May 2018, and we were discussing the incident where Kendrick Lamar asked a white fan to come on stage to sing one of his songs which contained the N-word. The fan didn't censor the word, was booed by the crowd, and eventually removed from the stage. At the time, more than anything, I wanted to defend the fan because I didn't believe they had any ill intent, and I felt sorry for them that they were put into that situation and handled it incorrectly. I attempted to defend this position, very poorly, by stating that it should be okay for anyone of any race to sing the lyrics in hip-hop music as they were written. Despite the fact that I did double down on this position a few times when challenged on it, I have ultimately come to realize more and more that my opinion on the issue, and especially the way I expressed it, was extremely insensitive. One of the reasons I was so defensive was because I felt as though my position was always mischaracterized, with people claiming that I was complaining that I couldn't personally use the word. But the truth is that I would never use the word, nor have I ever wanted to, and if I were in that same position as the fan I was defending, I wouldn't have chosen to use it. It was hard to accept the valid criticism when it also came with what I considered to be bad faith efforts to attack my character. But if we were to have a genuine conversation about the issue, we would probably end up agreeing. In any case, it is definitely not my place to be deciding what people of color should or shouldn't find acceptable, and I sincerely apologize for what I said. Another instance where I reacted poorly was when I was called out for the use of the word Jap. For the past 15 years, myself and many other speedrunners have used the word Jap as shorthand for Japanese when referring to the region of the console we use to speedrun. There are 3 regions we primarily use: European or PAL, North American or NTSC, and Japanese, which we shorten to either Jap, JP, JPN, or NTSC-J. In early 2019, I wanted to create an emote based on the Japanese version of the game, because many people often ask why the Japanese version is used. So I wanted an emote that people could spam whenever that question came up. Obviously, it was going to be eggplant related, because that's the running gag on my channel. I created a censored eggplant and called the emote Jap, what we call the Japanese region of the console we were speedrunning. I didn't think anything of it, but out of nowhere, another person from the community blasted me on Twitter, tagging Twitch and accusing me of using a racial slur and making fun of the Japanese. This shocked me because it didn't even cross my mind that it could be seen as offensive or even as a slur. I became incredibly angry for 2 reasons. The first is that this person was trying to cancel me for an innocent mistake, and this issue of that word had never been brought up before despite them being in the community and seeing it used for years. The second was because this person had been actively hating on me and my viewers in Discord and their Twitch stream for a while before this. Therefore, I didn't take this as a good faith effort to remove content that could be offensive, but rather as an attack and an opportunity to take me down. I lashed out on Twitter. This was before I had any platform or a noteworthy following. In fact, at this time, the person trying to cancel me had more followers. At this stage, I had not learned how to respond to public criticism in a mature way, and my response was horrible. Once I calmed down, I deleted the tweet and changed the name of the emote to NTSC-J, which is what it remains today. It was never intended to be a slur, and I reacted so negatively because of the previous interactions I'd had with that particular person, and also because this could have easily been resolved in private if they had have explained to me directly how insensitive it was. Aside from this one incident, I haven't really heard anyone complain about the use of the word, despite it still being extremely common in speedrunning to describe that region, and I've even still used used it myself in more private settings when describing which version of the game I'm playing. Moving forward, I will definitely retire it though in favor of something more respectful. Being able to respond to concerns from the public in a positive way is something that I have been struggling to learn over the past few years as my platform has grown, and I do think I've made a lot of progress. Even though in the past I may have gotten angry and been way too aggressive and defensive, looking back I still deeply appreciate the feedback, and of course it does help. Finally, there is a funny video of me going around from 2014 demonstrating an exercise to overcome social anxiety. The exercise consists of walking up to someone, giving them a compliment, and then walking off. Apparently, this is me trying to be a pickup artist, but if you know anything about pickup, you'd know this isn't pickup at all. Conversely, it's my opinion that almost every single piece of advice given by so-called pickup gurus is unhealthy, and I wouldn't endorse it. I've always preached building character, developing self-confidence and self-esteem, and using honesty, integrity, and respect to build relationships. It is a funny video though, and a lot of you will probably cringe, so I will link it in the description for your viewing pleasure. In order to research videos, I do work with other speedrunners often, so it's a huge shame that many of them will buy into the lies that are currently being spread, and will refuse to be involved with the channel. Everyone loses here, as the videos become less accurate, less informative, and more prone to mistakes. I certainly won't stop talking about speedrunning though. I've done it and loved it for over 20 years. A smear campaign spearheaded by trolls would certainly never stop me from making videos. To those who have been lying about me and my family and trying to use them as weapons against me, and to those who believe those lies and spread them without asking questions or considering the context, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, please go fuck yourselves. To everyone else, I appreciate you, I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, you absolute legends. As many of you know, last year I was officially sued by Billy Mitchell. In September of 2021, Mitchell filed a $450,000 lawsuit against me over my video titled "The Biggest Conmen in Video Game History Strike Again." In that video, I go over a couple of ridiculous lawsuits that Billy Mitchell and Todd Rogers had filed. I get questions all the time from people asking me if I'm still being sued, and the answer is yes. Not only am I still being sued, but as you're about to find out, things have gotten out of hand. Billy Mitchell's compulsive need to threaten and sue people that talk about him has reached all-time highs, and you will not believe what he has recently done to try to silence me. But before that, I want to give you an idea about how expensive and devastating defending a frivolous lawsuit can be. In the past year alone, my legal defense has cost $180,000. Yes, you heard correctly, $180,000. Obviously, I can't get into the specifics, but there are a lot of things that have to happen before trial, and it's all extremely expensive. Now, luckily, I've been in a very fortunate position because I had a couple of people reach out to me and have helped immensely over the past 12 months. Notch, the creator of Minecraft, was very helpful in the beginning and has supported me a lot. And then another gentleman by the name of Julian was extremely generous and funded a huge amount of money. Those guys are absolutely insane, and I will always be in their debt for the help they have provided me. $180,000 is so much money, and I can't even begin to imagine what it would be like for someone who did not have the support system I do to face something like this alone. Which also just highlights how vile and disgusting people are that abuse the legal system to frivolously attack people they want to silence. It is estimated that this lawsuit is going to cost at least another $100,000 before it's over. But things get a lot worse and a lot more stupid from here. Because you see, Billy Mitchell isn't satisfied just suing me once. Oh no, he is going to sue me again. In April of this year, I released a video called "Disgraced Gamer Billy Mitchell Accused of Extortion," where I factually and objectively reported on accusations made against Mitchell by the current Donkey Kong World Record holder, Robbie Lakeman. If you watched that video, you'll notice that at no point did I ever give my opinion on the validity of those accusations. I was simply reporting on public claims made by a very noteworthy person, who was also someone that Mitchell was using as a defense witness in his own lawsuits. But Mitchell didn't want to sue the person that actually made the claims. No, he wants to sue me just for talking about them. So first, his lawyer sent me a letter saying that the video was defamatory, and after we made it clear that I wouldn't take the video down because all of my statements in the video were literally true, and I wasn't even the person who made the claims he has a problem with, he sent me another $450,000 lawsuit. Now this is already stupid enough, as in my humble opinion, he has absolutely no case, and this is just an attempt to scare me, but it still gets even worse. Because Billy Mitchell isn't satisfied just suing me twice. Oh no, apparently he wants to go for the hat trick and sue me 3 times. And this latest action is the worst yet, and you couldn't even make this up if you tried. In May of this year, I released a video called I Cheated in a Speedrun and I Need to Come Clean, which was a parody video where I jokingly made fun of myself for submitting a few cheated scores to a gaming magazine over 20 years ago when I was a kid. Anyone who's watched that video might be wondering what this has to do with Billy Mitchell, as the video wasn't about him, nor did I even talk about him. And that's a valid question. But here is the amazing thing. While it is true that I didn't mention or talk about Billy Mitchell, I did show this clip.
You're familiar with Billy Mitchell, world video game champion? He could probably do it. So I gotta find a way to harness his power, and I think I found a way.
That's right, we're gonna cheat.
This is a meme that was made back in 2020, which has over 4 million views on YouTube and millions of views on Twitter. That's right, in the entire video, I literally did not mention Billy Mitchell at all or talk about him. I simply randomly threw in this meme of someone else talking as a joke, and Billy Mitchell wants to sue me for this. Shortly after I released that video, his lawyer sent me this letter. And mind you, this isn't just a letter, this is a concerns notice, which is a legal document that you are required to send to someone before you sue them. We act for William Mitchell. This is a concerns notice for the purpose of Section 14, Defamation Act, Queensland 2005. On 13th of September 2021, our client commenced a claim against you for defamation damages in respect to the publication of a video on the digital platform YouTube on or about 26th of May 2021. On 10th of April 2022, you posted on the web a video entitled Disgraced Gamer Billy Mitchell Accused of Extortion, which is the subject of a concerns notice sent to you on 20th of April 2022. On 7th of May 2022, you posted on the web a further video entitled I Cheated in a Speedrun and I Need to Come Clean, which read relevantly as follows. I needed to harness the power of the greatest gamer that ever lived. You're familiar with Billy Mitchell, world video game champion. He could probably do it, so I gotta find a way to harness his power, and I think I found a way. That's right, we are going to cheat. Mr. Mitchell was identified in the publication by his name. The words in their ordinary and natural meaning meant and were understood to mean that Billy Mitchell is a person who defrauds, deceives, or tricks other people and is a swindler. Billy Mitchell is guilty of fraudulently hoodwinking so as to obtain unfair advantage when competing in video games. The words and the imputations are untrue and are grossly defamatory. Yeah, I'm sure they are. The video has been viewed by a substantial number of people and an extensive number of comments have been posted on your YouTube page. Section 10A of the Defamation Act at the time of your publication requires Mr. Mitchell to establish that your publication has caused, or is likely to cause, serious harm to his reputation. Oh my lord. Billy Mitchell is a joke. He has become a parody of himself. This letter is nothing short of hilarious, and I would otherwise be laughing if not for the fact that this is a real letter written by a real lawyer that my lawyers really had to respond to. I sincerely cannot believe that even he would stoop this low. But just think about this for a moment. The video wasn't about Billy Mitchell at all. I didn't talk about him or mention him. In fact, the video was about me cheating. All I did was include a 10-second meme that I didn't make, that isn't even of me talking, that's an obvious joke, that was released years ago and already has millions of views. And Billy Mitchell started legal action against me, claiming that it's defamation. But what makes this so much crazier is that Billy Mitchell did cheat. So not only does he want to sue me over a meme that someone else made, but he wants to sue me over a meme that someone else made that's true. And what's ironic is that there are hundreds of comments underneath the YouTube video of this clip of people making fun of Billy, joking, saying that he's going to sue them for posting it. And then he actually does go and threaten to sue me for using that exact clip. This is what I mean when I say he is a parody of himself. People can't even joke about him anymore because he really does act that way. Now, it's all well and good to laugh about how crazy this whole situation is, but unfortunately for me, it comes with huge consequences. I have done absolutely nothing wrong, and I will never be scared into silence by anyone. But until I win in court and defeat this madness, it's going to cost a ton of money. And I'm truly sorry, but I do need help. Maybe if I was the only variable in this whole mess, I could battle my way through it alone. But unfortunately, this affects my entire family too. And psychologically and financially, some help would really benefit not only me, but them as well. So I have set up a GoFundMe to help with my fight against Billy Mitchell, and any help would be immensely appreciated. This GoFundMe is set to cover the rest of my existing lawsuit, plus the new lawsuit that Billy Mitchell says he will be filing, plus having to deal with all of the other bullshit threats that come my way. This is in Australian dollars, so it's not as large as it seems, but it's still a very significant amount of money that it's going to take to defeat Mitchell. There is light at the end of the tunnel though. In Australian court, generally the loser has to pay a lot of the legal fees of the winning party. So if I eventually win, which does seem extremely likely, Mitchell should have to pay back a lot of money. And I was thinking that in his honor, I could use that money to put on an epic gaming tournament. Perhaps we could call it the Gary Bobby Ferguson Memorial Epic Gaming Event for people who don't cheat in video games or sue people who call them out. I'm not sure, I might have to find a way to shorten it a bit. The next 12 months will not be good for Billy Mitchell. He has his trial against Twin Galaxies coming up, and in my opinion, and in the opinion of anyone who knows the details of Mitchell's cheating, he has absolutely no chance of winning. Especially when even more technical evidence showing that he cheated keeps coming out. As if it wasn't already conclusive enough, recently, a huge document from an electrical engineer showed a mountain of new evidence that Billy's story isn't true. And when he loses this lawsuit against Twin Galaxies, oh boy, they are going to come after him hard. Mitchell can keep threatening people for now, but as soon as he loses one of these lawsuits, which is inevitable, he will be absolutely destroyed and everything will come crumbling down. So, this has been an update to what I've been dealing with behind the scenes. Again, if you have the means, I would appreciate any help, so please consider donating to my GoFundMe, or consider sharing this video. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you were having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, you absolute legends. As most of you know, back in 2021, Billy Mitchell, Video Game Player of the Century, sued me for defamation, claiming damages of $450,000. Since that time, I have been defending myself rigorously, sparing absolutely no expense, hiring the best lawyers possible, and to date, I have incurred legal fees of $280,000. Fortunately, I haven't done this alone, and I've been blessed to have had the support of so many amazing people. For example, last year I launched a GoFundMe asking for help, which raised almost 150,000 Australian dollars. This has helped me and my family deal with this unpleasant situation tremendously, and we would be in serious trouble if it weren't for the kindness of strangers. The money that I receive goes towards fighting Billy Mitchell and defending myself, and Billy Mitchell is extremely upset that I've had help. You see, Billy likes to wear an American flag tie and claims to espouse American values, but this is just an act. If there is one thing Billy hates more than anything else, it's due process. Billy doesn't want me to be able to afford a good defense. He despises you for helping me because he is a tyrant and hates resistance. And honestly, he's scared. Billy has been a bully his entire life, picking on those that he perceives as weak, and now that people are fighting back, he is falling apart. Billy is so upset about my GoFundMe that he recently went on an unhinged rant talking about how everyone has been deceived and I've been lying to people to steal money and profit from the situation. In typical Billy fashion, his rant was entirely made up of lies, and given that I'm an expert in what's happening between him and I thought I would go over his accusations and let you know what really happened. I don't know why Billy thought it would be a good idea to publicly lie about ongoing legal proceedings, but then again, I don't know why Billy does anything Billy does. Billy is now trying to spin the narrative that he is the good guy and I'm the evil liar who's deceiving everyone. And what's possibly more bizarre than anything else, there were people in the crowd that actually believed what he was saying. Some people still don't realize he lies about everything. And I mean everything. Even things that can be checked in literally 2 seconds. So let's go over Billy's recent rant about me and unpack all of his lies. I really hope you enjoy. Now legends, this video is sponsored by Dragon City. Dragon City is a really fun game where you build your own dragon empire by collecting, hatching, and evolving over 1,000 unique dragons. After collecting these bad boys, it's your mission to make them more powerful by feeding them, training them, and battling them against other dragon masters. The more they fight, the higher the rank each dragon becomes, which makes them stronger. Naturally, you'll need to give your dragon army a good home, and as you work your way through the game, you can build a ton of unique structures that give you benefits. Personally, I am a huge fan of the event minigames that are both fun and allow you to get rewards. My favorite so far is Heroic Race, and I am a master at these types of games. I mean, look at me go, you just can't teach this. You can play Dragon City on iOS, Android, or PC, and if you download today using my link in the description or QR code on screen, you will get a special bundle with 15,000 food, 30,000 gold, and the very rare Neo Izumi Dragon to get you started. Before we listen to Billy Mitchell talk, I want you to understand how Billy works. When he talks, he only says what he thinks makes him look good. It doesn't matter if what he is saying is completely false or can be debunked instantly, he'll just say what he thinks sounds good in the moment. Previously, Billy has had success with this method of lying because the unfortunate truth is that most people will never fact-check themselves. The only reason his lies are being exposed to the public right now is because people like me and the new owner of Twin Galaxies do actually put effort into uncovering the truth. Billy does not care at all how easily his lies can be refuted. He will say the sky is green if he thinks it makes him sound good, even though all anyone would have to do to disprove this is simply look up. And Billy's ability to lie about such ridiculous things confidently has gotten him very far in the past, so keep this in mind whenever you listen to him talk. Now, this talk happened last month at a small gaming convention in England, where he claimed to be doing a Q&A, but the lady asking him questions was an obvious Billy shill who was parroting his talking points and giving him softballs to answer.
That is currently a case that's still going through the court process with Karl Jobst, isn't there? And obviously that's something that every time there's a video that goes up with your name on, especially around the subject of Apollo or cheating, that gets views, that gets clicks, that gets people noticing it, and that makes those guys lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money in the background as well. We all know how Twitch and YouTube and everything work. I don't think there's a single person in here that doesn't.
I give you credit, you've done your homework.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about sometimes. Not often. Sometimes I know what I'm doing.
Okay. I'm the only arcade gamer that he streams about. He arguably gets more views off me than anybody. He said what he said, and he said it constantly, and I don't care. I mean, I couldn't give him 10 seconds worth of credibility. Nothing. Zero.
Billy likes to tell this story about how he was never going to acknowledge me and was never going to waste any energy on me and was going to ignore me forever until he sued me in 2021. He also said this in a video he posted to his YouTube channel in June of 2021.
I was going to ignore Karl forever. But this cannot be ignored.
But this is a total lie. In 2020, he had already set his lawyer onto me, threatened to sue me, and demanded I pay him $150,000 because I said he cheated. In July of 2020, he sent me a concerns notice, which is the document you need to send to someone before you can sue them for defamation. And this was immediately after I posted my very first video that had anything to do with Billy Mitchell. In that letter, the lawyer says they have instructions to commence proceedings against me, and demanded I pay $150,000, removed my video, and never talked about Billy again. So when he says he was ignoring me, and that he wouldn't give me 10 seconds of credibility, this was a complete lie.
Okay, but time went on, and eventually, without a single source, except a now deleted post on Reddit, now deleted post, was his only source where he blamed me for taking the life of another human being and for what I did to him. And I said, that's it.
Billy Mitchell is referring to the YouTuber Apollo Legend, who tragically took his own life in December of 2020. I won't go into specifics about this particular point because it does relate to his ongoing lawsuit against me, but again, everything he just said is a lie. I didn't say what he claims that I said, and my source for what I did say was not just a deleted post on Reddit. Billy knows all of my sources because I gave them to him as part of the proceedings, and once the lawsuit is over, which should be hopefully very soon, all of the details will be made public.
And I said, that's it. What kind of person am I, even to my family, if I would allow someone to do that unanswered?
I will show you exactly the kind of person Billy Mitchell is. As part of the legal proceedings against Twin Galaxies, text messages were made public between Billy and other people. These messages showed that in March of 2018, Billy thought that Apollo Legend had died. Of course, that didn't end up being true, but let's see how Billy reacted to this news. In his messages to Carlos Pinheiro, who was helping to defend Billy at the time, Billy says, "My wife found online, Apollo Legend is dead, no joke." To which Carlos responds, "What? Oh my god." Billy says, "If it is true, I will not shed a tear. I will try my very hardest not to smile or giggle." Carlos couldn't find any sources, so Billy tries to help him by saying, "My wife said to Google Apollo Legend, Reddit dead." Carlos replies, "I see nothing solid." To which Billy replies, "I certainly hope you find something solid." Oops, was I not supposed to say that? I'll see if I can get my wife to find it again. So not only did Billy sue a kid with major health issues for $1 million, but he hoped he was dead, and said that if he was dead, it would make him want to smile and giggle. And why did Billy feel this way? Because Apollo Legend said he cheated in a video game, which is a proven fact. And it wasn't just close friends that Billy expressed his joy over Apollo's death to. He even sent these messages to Jace Hall, the owner of Twin Galaxies, who he is now suing. He was so happy that he just had to tell as many people as he could. That's the kind of person Billy Mitchell is.
And so you address it and you try to resolve it. But when somebody thinks they're in a different place and they think there's nothing you can do about it, and they think they can just laugh at you, you can either let them do that or you can pursue it. So we pursued it. The complaint actually says nothing, not a single word about video games. Nothing.
Wait a minute, Billy. Would you mind saying that again?
The complaint actually says nothing, not a single word about video games. Nothing.
Okay, so Billy is claiming that the complaint says nothing about video games. But let's do a quick test to see if you are all following along at home. Knowing what we know about Billy Mitchell being a pathological liar, if he says the complaint says nothing about video games, what are the odds that the complaint mentions video games multiple times in the very first paragraph? Well, here's the complaint, and what's this? Billy Mitchell mentions video games multiple times in the very first paragraph. I can't believe Billy Mitchell would lie like this. This is so out of character. And can we just take a moment to appreciate how hilariously pathetic it is that Billy Mitchell felt the need to introduce himself in a lawsuit as someone who has a Guinness World Record in a video game. This is a 58-year-old man, by the way.
The complaint actually says nothing, not a single word about video games. Nothing. But he has gone online and has led you to believe that it has to do with the allegations. And it doesn't.
I have never spoken about what the lawsuit is actually about. I haven't led anyone to believe anything. I've said that I'm being sued for defamation, but I've never talked about the specifics of the lawsuit, and I won't talk about them until the lawsuit is over. However, I will say that Billy Mitchell being a video game cheater is extremely relevant to the lawsuit. Billy Mitchell being happy about Apollo Legend dying is extremely relevant. Billy Mitchell abusing the legal system is extremely relevant. Billy's problem is that he doesn't understand the legal system, and especially the one in Australia. So his fantasy about what the lawsuit should be about is not rooted in reality and only exists inside his head.
Okay, and it's proceeding. But here's what bothers me. You're the guy I pick on. He goes online. He does a video. He'll make between the money he gets from YouTube, based upon the views, because I'm an extremely high view for him, along with the sponsorship, he'll get about $30,000 for a video.
Holy shit, I wish I made $30,000 per video. He is pulling numbers out of his ass here, and he has absolutely no idea what I make. Trust me, I make a good amount, but it's certainly not that much. I also like how Billy says that he's an extremely high view for me as some kind of boast because he wants to make himself sound important. Sure, people love laughing at Billy because he is a walking circus after all, but I get a lot of views no matter what I talk about. If you look at a snapshot of my channel, I get a lot of views if I talk about random cheaters or if I talk about awesome achievements. The irony is that right now, it's me that's making Billy famous, and if I stopped talking about him, no one would care about him ever again. He is a disgraced cheater that everyone hates, no one wants him around, and I'm the only thing keeping him relevant.
He'll get about $30,000 for a video. It's possible to get somebody in this room to lie for $30,000. It's not something we should do.
This argument is always funny, but it's even more hilarious when the guy saying it is wearing an American flag tie. As I said at the beginning of the video, Billy acts like he loves American values, but he really doesn't. His claim is that if I make a lot of money, it's not because I'm creating a good product or providing a useful service, it could only be because I'm lying. But isn't the entire American dream based around the idea that working hard and achieving success is a good thing? Billy even tries to give off the image of success himself by wearing a suit. But if his logic were to hold true, if he was successful, which he isn't, that would mean intrinsically that his video game scores are not to be trusted. I mean, he does make money off them, and people who make money must be lying, so therefore Billy must lie about his video game scores for money.
It's possible to get somebody in this room to lie for $30,000. It's not something we should do. But then you go on there and you say he's suing me again. He puts up nothing, no proof, anything that he's being sued again. Nothing. There is one complaint in there, and that's the original complaint.
Even though I've researched Billy a lot, and I know how much he lies, when he publicly lies about things he and his lawyers have done to me, it still shocks me every time. When it comes to lying, he is absolutely fearless. Here, he is talking about my video titled, "Billy Mitchell has gone insane and I need your help." This is the video where I advertised my GoFundMe to help with legal fees. Billy claims that I said he was suing me again while providing zero proof. But again, if you watch the video, you see instantly that this is a complete fabrication. I mean, I quite literally show the second lawsuit on screen when talking about it. First, Billy sent me this concerns notice in regards to my video that outlined allegations he was trying to extort witnesses. Again, this is a required document to send before you sue someone. This was the third concerns notice he had sent me by this point, by the way. Then, he sends me the second lawsuit, which I can show on screen now. I'm not making this up. This is a real thing that was sent to me by Billy's lawyer. This has nothing to do with the first lawsuit. It's a brand new one for a video I uploaded in 2022. And he again was seeking an extra $450,000 in damages. On top of this, his lawyer sent me a letter saying that he had instructions from Billy to file the lawsuit against me if I didn't offer to make amends, which of course I didn't do because everything I said in the video was true. Naturally, if Billy Mitchell, who sues everyone and is already suing me for something ridiculous, sends me a second lawsuit and has his lawyer literally tell me they were going to file it against me, I'm going to believe they will file it against me. Billy is right though. There is only one official complaint against me currently. And you know why that is? It's because Billy was either lying or changed his mind. I guess his legal threats ended up backfiring when I made my video saying he was going to sue me again, and I ended up getting a ton of support. Now he is pissed off because his scare tactic didn't work. At the time I made that video, everything I said was true. It's not my fault Billy ultimately decided to back out. It's a shame too, because he would have lost a ton more money when he ultimately lost.
Nothing. There is one complaint in there, and that's the original complaint. So when the attorney sends his attorney a letter and says, your client is fraudulently claiming that we filed a second and third lawsuit against him, you know, that is not right. It's called a letter of concern.
This correspondence between lawyers that he's talking about never happened. And it's so sad that Billy is spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on his lawsuit against me, and he still doesn't even know what the basic documents are called. He was trying to say that he sent me a concerns notice, but he called it a letter of concern. But ignoring the name of the document, he didn't send me a concerns notice. I mean, he has sent me concerns notices before. He sent me one in 2020 for saying that he cheated. He sent me one in 2021 in regards to Apollo Legend. He sent me two in 2022 for reporting on accusations of extortion, and also for including a 10-second meme of him that I didn't even create. But in regards to my GoFundMe, all his lawyer did was ask me why I was doing a GoFundMe and talking about a second lawsuit. But after my lawyer responded saying that everything I said was a fact and it was them who were the ones saying they were going to file a second lawsuit against me, I didn't hear from them ever again about it. I guess they realized how utterly ridiculous they look.
He starts a GoFundMe because the bad boy is suing him again. He needs money. And you are so silly, you hear what he says, and you donate money without any knowledge or any background. And the GoFundMe is at $150,000. $30,000 for the video. You give him $180,000 based upon a lie.
Yes, it was based upon a lie that you created, Billy. If you didn't send me a second lawsuit and lie and say that you will file it against me, I wouldn't have said that you were going to file a second lawsuit against me. But regardless, I didn't create the GoFundMe because of the second lawsuit. If you actually watch the video and read the description of the GoFundMe, instead of just taking Billy's word for it, you'll see the main reason I was asking for money was because I ran out of funds for the existing lawsuit. And I said that it was going to cost at least another $100,000 to get through that. And unfortunately, my estimate ended up being way too low, because we still haven't gotten to trial, and it's already cost me another $100,000 since I made that video.
And you are so silly, you hear what he says, and you donate money without any knowledge or any background.
Billy is extremely upset here because he hates the idea of someone having the money to defend themselves in court. If Billy was so sure he was going to win, he wouldn't mind if I was able to put up a good defense, because that's everyone's right. And Billy believes in American values like due process, right? Why is it a bad thing if someone is allowed to defend themselves properly? From the way he speaks, Billy seems more anti-American than anything.
And the GoFundMe is at $150,000. $30,000 for the video. You give him $180,000.
This is the amount of money I made from that video, which is less than 10% of what Billy was claiming. And the video wasn't sponsored, so Billy is just lying about everything. On top of that, he is intentionally conflating US dollars with Australian dollars. The GoFundMe is at around 150,000 Australian dollars, which, after conversion fees and GoFundMe fees are removed, ends up being less than $100,000 USD. Billy just can't help but lie about every single point he makes.
What do you want me to tell you? I don't have an answer. You can get a lot of people to do a lot of things for $180,000.
I'm not getting $180,000. I can't just take this money and go on a holiday in Jamaica. I still have legal bills to pay. Ultimately, that money isn't going to me, it's going to my lawyers. Even with all the money I've been given or raised, it still won't cover my legal fees. My lawyers are really expensive, but they are expensive because they are good. The reality is that you get what you pay for. So yes, I have spent a lot, but I have a really good team, which drastically increases my chances of successfully defending myself. I will put on screen a couple of yearly totals to show that yes, it really does cost this much.
It's unbelievable to me that many people are led in that direction.
Yes, it's truly unbelievable that people are led in the direction of someone like me, who presents evidence for their claims and has fact-checkable proof for everything. And they don't believe a pathological liar who provides no evidence whatsoever and has been caught lying thousands of times. This is truly perplexing.
But I also got to tell you one more thing. The attorney told me. He says every time somebody makes a statement, don't get upset. Remember, this is defamation. And every single statement, every single YouTuber who takes his video and reproduces it, which is a lot, every single one of them is a gift. In the end, it's a gift. Because he's wrong. He cannot possibly defend the fact that he said I took the life of a human being. And I'm not gonna let it go, no matter what.
I can't defend myself because I'm wrong. Wow, that's a very convincing argument, Billy. I'm sure that persuaded a lot of people. Anyways, I'm going to link my GoFundMe again in the description. Any support would be greatly appreciated. At this point in time, I'm desperately trying to get a trial happening as soon as possible, so hopefully everything is wrapped up within the next few months. Any and all money I receive goes towards mounting the best defense possible. I really appreciate any support you are willing to give, and of course, thank you so much to everyone who has helped so far. And once again, please make sure to try out Dragon City. It's a really fun game, it helps the channel, and if you use my link in the description or QR code, you will get a special bundle with 15,000 food, 30,000 gold, and the very rare Neo Izumi Dragon to get you started. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, you absolute legends. Back in July, I confidently announced to the world that the Billy Mitchell vs. Twin Galaxies trial would begin on October 27. And by my calculations, we are past that date, so naturally, the trial should be well underway. And I've been seeing a lot of comments from people excited for an update, and boy do I have an update for you. The trial is insane. It is complete pandemonium. You will not believe what has happened. If you thought Billy was crazy before, you've seen nothing yet. These are the types of things I would have likely said if the trial had actually begun. But good old Billy has successfully delayed the trial until next January. Though honestly, I would be shocked if it even happened then. Billy is afraid, and his lawyers are really afraid. They do not want to go to trial because they know they will lose. So they are doing everything in their power to prolong the lawsuit for as long as they can. Naturally, if Billy had a case, you'd think they would want to get this sorted out as quickly as possible. I mean, Billy supposedly wants to prove to the world that he didn't cheat and that Twin Galaxies were lying. Trial is his opportunity to do this. The entire point of a defamation lawsuit is to show the public that what was said about you was wrong. The entire point is to try and fix your public image and restore your reputation. However, it seems as though Billy isn't really interested in that. All he wants to do is drag things out for as long as possible and to do as much financial damage as he can to his opponents. And he isn't just doing this with Twin Galaxies, he is doing this with me too. I've been trying to get a trial since June, but Billy keeps running away. He and his lawyers always do something which makes the process take even longer, even though I've been ready to go for months. On top of this, somehow I have become a central figure in the Twin Galaxies lawsuit. Billy's lawyers are making up insane lies about me and creating crazy conspiracy theories. I honestly don't know if it's because they are legitimately dumb or because they are legitimately scummy people. But whatever the case, whenever they bring up me in the legal filings, it seems like their IQ drops to about 60. Billy's lawyers are so afraid, they are even trying to get the lawyer for Twin Galaxies removed from the lawsuit. The only reason they would do this is if they think it's beneficial to their case. If you think Billy's lawyers are just doing their job, think again. These people are liars and scumbags. And I know this because they are lying about me, and I know the truth. In this video, I will give you a quick update as to what's been happening. I really hope you enjoy. Now legends, if you're anything like me, you're probably losing a ton of money each month from subscriptions you just don't need. And that's where today's sponsor Rocket Money is here to help. Rocket Money is an all-in-one finance platform that helps you save more and spend less. This personal finance app allows you to manage subscriptions, lower bills, build a custom budget, and grow your savings, all in one place, saving its members over $1 billion and counting. Rocket Money helps you in many useful ways. It safely and securely identifies recurring charges and cancels unwanted subscriptions for you, and it's as easy as a simple tap. Rocket Money will also negotiate your bills for you, from internet service bills to cable and phone bills. It also helps you monitor your credit by alerting you of important changes that impact your score. plus many other features that will help you set budgets, set up smart savings, and grow your net worth. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/KarlJobst or click the link in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with Premium. That's rocketmoney.com/KarlJobst to get started for free. Lawsuits take a long time. There are a ton of steps involved, and lawyers have a habit of waiting until the last minute to do things. But still, they can't last forever. They have to end eventually. And normally, if you are the innocent party, you want it to end as soon as possible, which in this case happens to be me. I want to go to trial, and I'm ready for trial. The only reason I haven't had trial yet is because of Billy Mitchell. Back in June, I officially requested a trial date, and then 2 weeks later, suddenly his lawyer retires and he has to find new representation. I mean, what are the odds that Billy's lawyer retired immediately after we asked to go to trial? Surely he would have known earlier and was planning for it, but if that was the case, why was he still representing Billy? Why did Billy get dropped literally the moment the prospect of trial was brought up? In any case, Billy found new lawyers, but of course they wanted to delay things so they had more time to prepare. I don't blame them, because Billy's original lawyer was terrible. Absolutely terrible. I think Billy was trying to do things as cheaply as possible, because the original complaint that was submitted is just astonishingly bad. The new lawyers probably know it's bad, and they started to make changes. But the problem is that you can't just start making changes to a complaint that is years old. It's completely unreasonable and in many cases against the rules. So now we have to go through this battle to try and stop all these changes being made, and it is again dragging things out. Thankfully, if Billy does amend his original complaint and I have to draft a new defense, it looks like Billy will have to cover my costs in doing so. So if he does keep amending his complaint, he'll be paying legal fees on both sides until it's all resolved. Australia is really good when it comes to compensating costs. If he changes something 2 years later and then I have to spend more because of it, the Australian courts say that Billy needs to compensate me back for the extra effort. So if Billy does keep messing around, delaying things, he will have to pay a lot of money. But unfortunately for me, it just means I have to keep dealing with this for a lot longer. But for my part, I am definitely ready to rock. Originally, the Twin Galaxies lawsuit was set for October, but again, Billy is running and hiding. His lawyers successfully delayed it until November, and then they delayed it again until January. Twin Galaxies wants to go to trial as soon as possible. Who wouldn't want to go to trial against Billy Mitchell? It's the easiest slam dunk of all time. The man is a walking L. Billy has no case, he has no evidence, and he has no witnesses. And funnily enough, Billy's lawyers are blaming me for Billy having no one that's willing to lie on his behalf. Yes, it's my fault that Billy can't get any witnesses to back up his story. Recently, Billy's lawyers filed a motion to disqualify Tash, the lawyer for Twin Galaxies, from the lawsuit. And one of the reasons is because Tash gave me access to depositions. Billy claims his deposition was confidential, and his lawyers have already tried to argue this in a previous motion. Previously, they tried to hold Tash in contempt for providing depositions, and the judge denied the order. Now they are doing the same thing again, even though the judge has already ruled on this exact matter. First of all, nothing marked confidential was sent to me, and second of all, most of the materials I get don't even come from Tash. It comes from Twin Galaxies. In Billy's recent motion, they claim that Tash sent me depositions for all of these people. However, they are just making things up. Yes, Tash did send me a couple of depositions, but most of the ones I've received didn't come from him. And yet, Billy's lawyers are happy to make up lies with no evidence to try and get Tash disqualified. He claims that Tash continued to send me depositions after he was informed it was a violation of the protective order, but this is patently false. First, the deposition was not confidential, and again, the judge has already ruled on that. And second, Tony's email to Tash was on July 14. The last email me or my lawyers ever received from Tash was July 6, a week earlier. Everything else I've ever gotten came from Twin Galaxies, not their lawyer. They claim that because I talk about depositions in my videos, Billy can't get his friends to sit for deposition. They cite Billy's friend Robert Childs, saying that he is afraid. But here's the thing about Robert Rob Childs. Rob was supposed to be deposed in January at the same time as Billy Mitchell, but just before his deposition, he got a lawyer and avoided it, and has been trying desperately to avoid being asked questions. So he was already unwilling to testify for Billy in January, which is half a year before I made any videos about any depositions. Again, it's just another lie. They also claim that Triforce won't sit for deposition for the same reason. They want us to believe that Triforce, the guy that does public talks defending Billy, the guy that uploads YouTube videos to his own channel defending Billy Mitchell, is afraid to defend Billy in a deposition because it will be uploaded to the internet. This is what I mean when I say Billy's lawyers have an IQ of 60. They cannot grasp simple logic. Obviously, Triforce doesn't care if something is posted online, he does it himself. On Twitter, he even acted as if deposing him wouldn't be a problem. It's only when Billy wants to try to attack Twin Galaxies that Triforce is now suddenly camera shy. Of course, all of this is irrelevant, however, because all Billy has to do is subpoena Rob Childs or Triforce, and they don't have a choice but to sit down for a deposition. But Billy won't subpoena them, because he knows they won't be able to keep all of their lies straight. Keep in mind, Twin Galaxies have always been very open about any information they have. They want the public to know as much as possible. Twin Galaxies cares about the truth and wants the truth to be known, whatever that truth may be. So Twin Galaxies provides any information that it can, and Twin Galaxies has had no problem getting witnesses to testify, because as it turns out, people are happy to tell their story when they aren't lying. It's only when people have to lie that answering questions becomes difficult. Billy Mitchell is the one that's trying to keep all of this information suppressed. It's Billy Mitchell that is afraid of the truth coming out. Billy's lawyers also lie about communications I've had with Twin Galaxies. Billy was very upset about getting caught in the lie about the color of the joystick at the Mortgage Brokers Convention. They claim that Twin Galaxies should have given them the photos beforehand, and that tricking Billy was morally wrong. They take a portion of my video and try to use it as proof that it was all an evil scheme. There are so many logical flaws in here, it's honestly hard to believe, so I'll just rapid fire through the problems or we will be here all day. If you need to, you can pause my video to read my script first. They say Twin Galaxies only sent them 2 emails from me during discovery, but that's impossible because I knew about the photos. Therefore, this must be a giant cover-up. Oh my god, a 6-year-old could debunk this logic. I communicate with Jace Hall through Signal, which deletes messages after 10 minutes. They seem to forget that email isn't the only form of communication. They quote me as saying I knew about the photos for years, which I have just never said. What are they even quoting? Those 2 words don't appear in the quoted paragraph, and I've never even said that. I just said I knew the photos existed. I never gave a time frame. They think that because I knew Twin Galaxies had the photos since 2020, that means Twin Galaxies must have told me in 2020. This is insanely stupid. Twin Galaxies told me years later they had the photos since 2020. Billy's lawyers haven't yet discovered the concept of talking about past events. I knew about the photos beforehand, but that doesn't mean I knew because of Twin Galaxies either. Those photos have been in the public domain since 2011. Multiple people outside of Twin Galaxies independently had seen the photos. But truthfully, I saw the photos for the first time after Billy's deposition. Before that, I only knew that photos showing a red joystick existed. I hadn't seen them myself, which is why in my video I say I knew about them, not that I had them or had seen them. They say that I said Twin Galaxies planned to withhold the photos so they could lay a trap. And apparently I can only know this because Twin Galaxies told me. But Twin Galaxies didn't tell me that, it's just obvious from the deposition. Anyone with more than 2 brain cells who watches that deposition knows the questions they asked only make sense if they assumed Billy didn't have the photos. Obviously, Twin Galaxies didn't give Billy the photos. When I made my YouTube video, I was just hyping it up to make it more interesting. And besides, this trap only works if Billy is a compulsive liar, which he just happens to be. Tony Elrod claims he asked for the photos as part of discovery, and refers to Request for Production 36. This was asking for any documents supporting allegations made by Twin Galaxies in paragraph 25 of the cross complaint. That paragraph talks about a live performance on July 14. However, the photos were actually taken on July 13, so they aren't even on the same day, therefore they are not evidence Billy even played on July 14, and couldn't support that claim in any way. All those photos show is Billy standing in front of a Donkey Kong machine the day prior. They don't confirm he played it, they don't even confirm that it was the machine in question. It is impossible to determine if that machine relates to his July 14 score. In his lawsuit, Billy claims he played on an unmodified machine. So based on what Billy had previously said, as far as Twin Galaxies knew, that machine couldn't have been the one he played on, because that machine was modified. It wasn't until Billy confirmed himself that it was the machine he used that the photos became relevant. But do you want to know what the best part of the Red Joystick saga is? Billy did actually know the photos existed, and he even already had them himself. Now I know what you're thinking. How the fuck is it possible that Billy had the photos and still lied about the color of the stick and fell for the trap? Well, my friend, there are just some things us mortal men can simply never grasp or comprehend. All we can try to do is know the facts. In 2018, Billy called David Race and said the convention had photos. Here's a clip from that phone call.
I didn't realize it wasn't just a convention like a group of people. It was a state convention. It's run by the state. Everything is on record. They have minutes of the meeting. She said in the minutes they talked about me. And she said they're going to have information, whatever we want. She said she's very sure they'll have pictures, everything, because it's the state and they keep very good track of this.
Then in August 2022, 5 months before his deposition, Billy subpoenaed the convention and got the photos. So Billy already had them. And still in his deposition, not only did he say he didn't have photos.
Do you have any photos of you at the Mortgage Brokers convention?
No, I don't.
Do you have any photos of the Donkey Kong arcade machine that you played there?
No.
But he still said the stick was black.
If it wasn't black, I wouldn't have played it.
Why is that?
Because the other joysticks are not real joysticks. They're not Donkey Kong joysticks.
They're not four-way joysticks?
They're not authentic joysticks.
There are multiple levels of stupidity running concurrently here. And you know what's interesting? When Tash asked Billy if he had photos, and Billy said no, who was sitting right next to Billy? Billy's lawyer, Tony Elrod. So Tony was happy to sit there and listen to his client lie, and was happy to keep the fact that he had the photos a secret, but when Twin Galaxies traps a compulsive liar, now that becomes a problem. Tony Elrod complains about Tash for various things, like messaging Billy's witnesses trying to get them to send evidence or testify, or showing emotion in his email correspondence. But he himself has done far worse. Tony lied directly to a witness about what Billy Mitchell had said in his deposition, in order to try and coerce the witness into changing their testimony, because what the witness was saying was so damaging to Billy's case. Elrod is happy to send over fabricated evidence and to lie on behalf of his client, and when exposed, simply say that it's all a conspiracy theory. Billy's lawyers are going after Tash because Tash is good, and they know they will be destroyed at trial. Billy and his lawyer Tony Elrod are cowards doing everything they can trying to prevent this entire pathetic lawsuit from being shown to a jury. Everyone knows they will lose, including them, and they are desperate. And I really hope Tony Elrod improves his comprehension skills and gets his facts straight before talking about me again in his frivolous lawsuit. I will let you know when any further updates happen. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.
A bitter war of Donkey Kong has exploded, with controversy over a high score making it all the way to a Queensland courtroom. An American video game champion is suing a Brisbane YouTuber over cheating claims.
Hello, you absolute legends. As many of you know, back in 2021, Con Artist of the Century Billy Mitchell sued me for defamation, claiming damages of almost $500,000. For almost 3 years, this ridiculous lawsuit has dragged on, and for the past year, I've been desperately trying to get a trial date as soon as possible. The sooner we can go to trial, the sooner this will all be over and we can all move on. But every step of the way, Billy has been doing everything in his power to delay trial as much as possible. You would think it would be the opposite way. Billy is the plaintiff. He's the one that's supposed to be desperate for the court to step in and give him a resolution. But no, he's the one always running away. In fact, he got so bad that even Australian news outlets were reporting on the fact that Billy was saying he couldn't attend trial when we were asking him to. However, thankfully, a trial date has recently been set by the judge. As it stands, Billy and I will be going to trial starting September 16, and the trial is scheduled for 6 days. This is only 4 months away, and personally, I cannot wait. This has already gone on far too long, and is a huge waste of everyone's time and money, but it does look like we will get a resolution pretty soon, which is great news. Now, when I announced this on Twitter, a lot of people had questions. Is it possible that me and Billy will settle before trial? Billy settled with Twin Galaxies earlier this year, and everyone hated that. Is it possible I might do the same? Everyone wants to see Billy lose, but is he going to just wriggle his way out once again? What will happen if Billy loses? Will there be any repercussions? What happens if he wins? In this video, I will answer these questions. Plus, we will take a quick look at a few of the things we will be arguing about in court. And some of the things Billy is trying to claim are insane. For example, and I swear to God this is real, Billy is trying to claim that he was never banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating. Yes, the guy who was banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating and sued Twin Galaxies for $10 million because they banned him for cheating is claiming in his lawsuit against me that he was never banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating. The lies never stop, and this is why trial is going to be so exciting. All of this will go before the judge, and it will be epic. Or, as I asked before, will Billy be able to weasel his way out? Let's find out. I really hope you enjoy. Now, legends, we are all huge Billy Mitchell fans here, and I know most of you are wondering, how on earth does Billy maintain such beautiful hair and skin? Well, I don't know Billy's secret for sure, so I can only assume it's because he's using today's video sponsor, Geology. Geology is the bee's knees when it comes to looking and smelling your absolute best. Personally, my skin is super oily, so I need to use Geology's everyday face wash or my face looks and feels gross. Plus, I use their nourishing eye cream because I have massive black eyes from not getting enough sleep. But if you have problems with dry skin or acne, Geology is perfect for that too. Plus, they have a whole range of products including body washes, deodorants, and hair shampoos and conditioners, and they all smell incredible. The process is super simple. Just take the 30-second quiz and Geology will send a personalized routine right to your door. And right now, you can get 100% off your first order. Yes, that is a free trial of their award-winning skincare routine. All you need to pay is the $4.95 shipping. Plus, they will give you an additional 50% off an extra product of your choice. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen and use code Karl Jobst 100. This is an amazing offer, so don't miss out. When Billy Mitchell settled with Twin Galaxies back in January, the entire world wept. What we all want more than anything is for Billy to have his ass handed to him in court. We want to see a real, bona fide loss. Honestly, at this point, Billy's lawsuit against me is the world's last chance to see this epic defeat happen. If Billy loses to me, it will be devastating for multiple reasons, which I will get into shortly. So this is really important that it does go to trial, and I do my very best to serve Billy the loss he so desperately deserves. But he has settled before, and not just with Twin Galaxies, with the YouTuber Apollo Legend as well, and both times the public was very upset. Is there any chance the same might happen with me? The answer is almost certainly no. There is a big difference between Billy's lawsuits in America and his lawsuit against me, which is in Australia. In America, even if you win as the defendant, there is no guarantee you'll get any of the court costs back. You might have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars defending yourself, and when you win, you get absolutely nothing. This is why in America, settling is a very tempting resolution, and this is why Twin Galaxies decided to settle. It was just a lot cheaper. In Australia, things are different. Here, almost always, the loser is ordered to pay the court costs of the winner. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win, so from from my perspective, it seems silly to settle because I believe I will be successful and I believe that Billy will be ordered to pay back most of my costs. It's not 100% of my costs, however. The judge can award standard costs or indemnity costs. Standard cost is more common, and usually the winning party would get back around 60 to 70% of their costs. But in some circumstances, the judge can award indemnity costs, which would be up to 95% of costs incurred. If I do win, I think indemnity costs are more likely for reasons which I won't go over in this video. But in any case, the most important thing to realize is that this lawsuit, including trial, will have cost me around $500,000. This means if Billy loses, he will almost certainly be required to pay me hundreds of thousands of dollars to cover my expenses. This is obviously a big deal, and I would be stupid to accept any settlement that didn't also include the payment of all of my costs, given that I think the judge will award them to me at trial. So the chances of me and Billy settling before trial are extremely low, and I don't foresee any circumstance in which that happens. Billy can't just drop the lawsuit either. If he does try to run away before trial or simply avoids it, he will lose by default, and will still need to compensate me for my expenses. This lawsuit will go to trial, and the only way for Billy to avoid it is to simply lose before that even happens. If I were Billy, I would be shitting myself because if he loses, he will lose big, and right now, things aren't looking good. In saying that, nothing is certain in the legal system, and there is also a non-zero chance that somehow Billy wins. If that happens, I would need to pay back some of his costs, though it would almost certainly be on the standard costs basis. I don't know what Billy has spent so far, but based on the poor quality of work by his lawyers, it's probably less than half of what I've spent on mine. And while my loss seems unlikely, I would be an idiot if I didn't prepare for it. I've been privileged enough to have a lot of financial help from members of the public and people like Notch who have donated a tremendous amount of money, but this only covers my own legal expenses. It doesn't cover any of the damages I would have to pay or any of the legal costs Billy has incurred. This might end up being hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of what I've already spent. Again, it's extremely unlikely, but I've done the best I could to earn enough money to survive the worst case scenario. And I'm happy to say that if the worst case scenario does eventuate, me and my family will survive. The lawsuit has taken an extreme mental toll on me, and it's affected this channel as well. I'm not free to just make the videos I want to make. Whenever I make a video, I have to consider the lawsuit, and if the video will be popular enough to cover my expenses. And the lawsuit takes up so much of my mental energy and attention, it's hard to think about anything else. That's one of the reasons I make so many Billy Mitchell videos. I spend so much time researching Billy for the sake of my own defense that it's hard to work on other projects. I do the best I can, but a lot of the time I just try to kill two birds with one stone and take what I've learned about Billy to make videos and use that to fund my legal expenses and prepare for the worst. Now, let's take a look at some of the things I will be arguing at trial. Obviously, I'm not going to cover everything here, and don't worry, I'm not going to spill any secrets or give away any strategies. Everything I mention here will be public information and already known to both parties. There are multiple ways to defend a defamation claim in Australia that go beyond just proving what you said was true or that it wasn't defamatory. One of them is to say that Billy didn't have a good reputation to begin with, so it's not possible that it caused him any damage. Before I published the video in question, it was already well established that Billy was a cheater. He had already been sued for fraud by Twin Galaxies, and I had already covered all of this in previous videos. Billy himself has already proven that his reputation was destroyed long before I ever talked about him, and he proved this by suing Twin Galaxies for $11 million in 2 states. He sued Apollo Legend for $1 million, and he sued Jeremy Young, Jeff Harris, and the Donkey Kong Forum for $3 million. In all of those lawsuits, he claims that his reputation was destroyed by their statements. He can't have his cake and eat it too. He can't say that Twin Galaxies destroyed his career in his lawsuit in America and then come over to Australia and say that his reputation was amazing and I destroyed it once again. That doesn't make any sense, but that's exactly what Billy is doing. If I can establish that Billy had a bad reputation to begin with, it doesn't matter if I can or can't prove any of my claims against him, because you can't damage what is already completely destroyed. But in saying that, there is a lot I can prove, and I will attempt to do so at trial. I will prove that Billy was publicly exposed for cheating and that he was banned by Twin Galaxies because of his cheating. Everyone will hear this claim and think there is no possible way Billy would try to deny this, because it's an obvious fact. Well, believe it or not, he is denying this. Billy is claiming that he was never publicly exposed for cheating and that he wasn't banned by Twin Galaxies. What's hilarious about this is that Billy argues in his own court documents from his American lawsuits that Twin Galaxies banned him for cheating and it caused him to get roasted publicly. I mean, it's literally the reason for his lawsuits against them. So he argues one thing in America and then argues the complete opposite in Australia. I don't know why he thinks this is a good idea, because I'm just going to use his own filings to show that he is a deceptive liar who's trying to play both sides. I'm also going to argue that he expressed joy at the thought of the YouTuber Apollo Legend's death. This is obviously a terrible thing. And not only did he imply he was going to smile and giggle if Apollo Legend died, but he also said that he hoped it was true. This was in 2018, which was 2 years before Apollo Legend actually died. At this time, Billy had only heard that he had died from his wife, and he was gleefully texting about it to his friends. Billy's defense to this is that Apollo Legend didn't die until 2020, so Billy only thought Apollo Legend had died, which makes his text okay. Yes, this really is Billy's defense. I'm also going to show that Billy abuses the legal system to try and silence people and force them to recognize his scores. For example, when he threatened Guinness World Records with a lawsuit if they didn't reinstate his scores, and they ended up folding. You may be asking why any of this is relevant, and it's because it all damages his reputation. It doesn't matter if he can show that I was incorrect on one thing. Even if he were to prove that I was wrong about a specific claim, there are many other claims that were true and also damaged his reputation. So as a whole, any incorrect claim I may have made didn't cause any extra damage. There are multiple barriers that Billy has to get through in order to be successful. He has to show that something that I said wasn't true and that it was defamatory. He then needs to prove that his reputation was damaged by that specific claim and has to prove those damages. From my side, I'm going to argue that what I said wasn't defamatory, that Billy's reputation was already terrible, and that I've said so many damaging things about him that were true and that I can prove that even if he did show that one thing I said was wrong, it didn't make a difference. And there are other very important things on top of this that I won't discuss until after trial happens. But I assure you that I will break it all down in more detail once it's over. One thing people have also asked is what happens if Billy loses and decides not to pay my costs? He is in America after all, and this would be an Australian judgment. Well, thankfully, the state of Florida where Billy lives does recognize foreign judgments, so we would be able to go after him through the Florida court system. It's a bit more work for us, but the important takeaway is that he won't be able to escape. And besides, if Billy did try to run and avoid paying, that's going to stick with him forever. First, his whole persona as a successful businessman would be destroyed, because we would all know he actually has no money. And secondly, I would never ever let the world forget what he did. The world needs Billy to lose. Not only would Billy need to pay me a lot of money if he loses, but we will also have an official ruling by a judge on a lot of these issues. This is because this particular trial will be decided by a judge and not a jury. So a judge is going to examine all of the evidence, and a judge will give his ruling and opinion on all of these issues. So if a judge rules that Billy was exposed for cheating, this opinion will be cemented in writing and will carry a lot of weight. If Billy loses this lawsuit, the judge's opinion is going to be very damaging for him, and that's another reason why I think it was very stupid for Billy to have started these proceedings. This is probably my last update on my own lawsuit until the trial. The next few months are obviously going to be very stressful for me and my family, so I'm probably going to work a bit less and will try to relax and distract myself as much as possible. I would love any and all support until then. You can support me by clicking on my videos when you see them, by leaving a comment, by not skipping my sponsors, and by sending some good energy over my way. I really appreciate it. September 16. Mark your calendars. This is going to be big. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.
All right, our next case is case number 2023-0432, Mitchell versus Race.
Hello, you absolute legends. This is Billy Mitchell's lawyer, and these are the justices of the Supreme Court of Florida. Billy is trying desperately to stop his ridiculous and frivolous lawsuit against the world's greatest Pac-Man player David Race from being thrown out, and Billy is going to fail. Billy is famous for suing or threatening to sue people who call him a cheater. Everyone already knows this. But defamation lawsuits aren't the only stupid lawsuits he likes to file, and Billy's lawsuit against David Race is arguably his dumbest ever. Billy sued David Race back in April of 2021 because David recorded phone calls between him and Billy. David wasn't recording these calls because he had some evil scheme to expose Billy at some point or for nefarious reasons. He recorded them because he records all of his calls with everyone. David is a resident of Ohio, where you don't need the other person's consent to record your calls. What David did was normal and legal where he lives. In fact, when David recorded these calls, which occurred between 2018 and 2019, David and Billy were friends, and David was a vocal supporter of Billy. But at some point, after reviewing much of the evidence against Billy, David came to the rational conclusion that not only did Billy cheat, but Billy had been lying directly to him and using him as a pawn. After learning the truth that Billy is a conman, David then chose to help Twin Galaxies in their lawsuit against Billy by providing them with a recording of a phone call showing that Billy was the type of person to lie and trick people. Billy was pissed that David was now helping Twin Galaxies. So Billy did what Billy does when he is upset with someone. He sued him. Billy claimed that what David did was illegal because Billy lives in Florida, where you do need consent to record calls. But that's just not how it works. It doesn't matter where Billy lives, it matters where David lives. And where David lives, it's totally legal. And the court agreed. In March of 2023, the appeal court dismissed the lawsuit, literally saying that what David did was legal and that Billy's lawsuit was offensive. But Billy's crusade against David knew no bounds, and he took it all the way to the Supreme Court of Florida, where finally, in November of 2024, they agreed that the lawsuit is to be thrown out for good. In this video, we will take a quick look at Billy's most recent failed attempt to sue an innocent person. I really hope you enjoy. Now legends, it's Christmas time, and what better way to spoil yourself or someone you love than with a beautiful poster from Displate. Displate offers metal posters that not only look amazing, but are also very durable and easy to install using their magnet mounting system. Not only does this avoid damaging your walls, but it also means you can quickly swap them around whenever you want. I think if you love a game or a story, you should celebrate it with a gorgeous piece of artwork. Displate offers officially licensed designs from all of your favorite game, TV, and movie franchises. These artworks are just incredible, and there are more than 2 million to choose from. If you don't have Displate posters on your walls, you are missing out big time. Displate ships very quickly all around the world. I live all the way out in Australia, and I get mine in around 3 or 4 days, which is insane. And of course, Displate is offering an amazing discount for Christmas, so just click the link in the description or use code Karl at checkout to get up to 26% off your order. Please click the link and grab a Displate today. First, I want to give you a quick update on what's happening with my own lawsuit against Billy. As many of you know, in September and October, I went to trial because of Billy's defamation lawsuit against me. I've had a lot of people ask me what's going on, and if there has been a decision. So let me explain the process. My trial will be decided by a judge, and these decisions take time. It's not as simple as the judge just saying who won. As part of the decision process, they need to draft an extremely long and in-depth opinion about everything that happened during trial. This involves talking about all of the witnesses, all of the evidence given, all of the existing case law, and much more. And because my trial was relatively long, this decision is also going to be really long and involved. This takes time, and we will probably be waiting months for the judge to come back with his decision. And I don't know what that decision is going to be. During trial, Billy lied a lot, and ultimately what this will come down to is whether or not the judge believes anything Billy says. I think we made it pretty clear that Billy is a liar, but we're obviously biased, so who knows what the judge is thinking. Whatever the decision is, you will know as soon as it comes out. Even though many people who've read about my trial say they think I will win, I am keeping myself very humble. For my own mental health, I have already accepted the worst case scenario. I am already psychologically prepared to lose. I think the worst thing that could happen is I get my hopes up, think I'm definitely going to win, and then end up losing. I'd rather assume I've already lost, deal with the grief early, and then hopefully be pleasantly surprised by a positive result. Either way, it won't affect this channel, and I hope that if I do lose, I will still have your support. Recording a phone call without consent is legal in Ohio. It's important to know this context at the outset, because for the past 3 years, Billy Mitchell has put an innocent man through hell with this vindictive lawsuit. Until you've been sued yourself, it's honestly hard to appreciate just how destructive a lawsuit can be to someone's life. So while many of you obviously accept that suing an innocent person is morally wrong, the full extent of just how bad an action this is won't truly be understood by many people. And I do hope that Billy's actions result in him being further ostracized from the gaming community. Because he didn't just sue anyone, he sued the best Pac-Man player ever. Billy always claims that he wants to champion video game competition, and that he is some shining beacon for the community, like he says in this clip here.
If I have achieved all that I could in the gaming world, I need to now push and advocate for competitive gaming, the players, the notoriety, the recognition, and all that they deserve.
But ironically, he is literally the worst thing to ever happen to video game high school competition. I mean, just his cheating alone would have been bad enough to solidify him as one of the most destructive figures in gaming history. But to go after so many fellow gamers who rightfully call out his cheating is even worse. Billy clearly does not care about the gaming community, because his actions towards other gamers are just evil. When you sue someone, one of the first things the court must establish is if it even has personal jurisdiction over the defendant. In this case, Billy, a Florida resident, sued David, an Ohio resident, and he sued him in a Florida court. And it's up to Billy to argue why Florida can dictate what laws David should obey. The reality in this case is that Florida doesn't have jurisdiction over David. If David owned property in Florida or conducted business in Florida, it would be different. But neither of these things are true. David really doesn't have any contact with Florida at all. The only contact he had with Florida is the fact that he occasionally spoke with Billy, and Billy lives there. But just having conversations with people who live in a particular state isn't enough to give that state jurisdiction over you. And this is why in March of 2023, the District Court of Appeal dismissed the lawsuit. And in their opinion, they made it very clear that what David did was perfectly legal, and that any action brought against him in Florida would be unjust. They said, "It is significant that the conduct that offends the Florida plaintiff, the recording of phone calls without his consent, is not illegal in Ohio, where the calls were recorded. The recording of the calls is not malum in se, a wrong or evil in itself that is prohibited everywhere. Where a defendant legally records a phone conversation in his home state and has no other significant contacts with Florida, it offends traditional notions of fair play and substantial justice to require him to appear in Florida to defend against a lawsuit for an alleged violation of the Florida Security of Communications Act. We therefore reverse and remand to the Circuit Court with directions to enter an order dismissing the case for lack of personal jurisdiction." This opinion was written by Judge Gross, and was signed off on by the Chief Judge Mark Klingensmith. Now you would think that having the Chief Judge of the District Court of Appeal tell you that this lawsuit is offensive would perhaps give Billy some pause to reflect and reconsider his legal vendetta. But no, he continued pushing and took it all the way to the Supreme Court of Florida. In May of 2024, Billy's lawyer stood in front of the justices and tried to argue that Florida should have jurisdiction, but his arguments were bizarre. For example, one of his arguments related to the fact that David posted on his Facebook account that it was illegal to record calls without consent in Florida. And because David knew it was illegal in Florida, this is supposed to mean that he shouldn't have done it in Ohio.
Correct. So I understand that there's a sense in which this is some murky thing about where is the conversation occurring and everything, but if the whole point of all this personal jurisdiction stuff is to focus on what the defendant is doing and the connection between what the defendant does and the form. I mean, everything the defendant did, the recording, the speaking, I mean, it was all in Ohio. In what state was he in?
Ohio. Yeah, that is correct. He was physically located in Ohio, according to his affidavit. If I can take 1 second, Justice Sasser, you raised a point about whether or not the defendant knew my client was in Florida. He did subsequently post on Facebook that he went to justia.com and copied Florida statutes for the Chapter 934 and copied it on there and said, it is illegal in Florida to record a phone call unless all parties give consent. I'm paraphrasing.
I have questions about that as well, but I think if you could answer the Chief's question. Then.
This argument is of course irrelevant, because David lives in Ohio, and was in Ohio at the time. But this is just what Billy's lawyers love to do. They throw out nonsensical arguments hoping to confuse the situation. Billy's lawyer honestly looked like a bumbling buffoon when he was trying to explain why Florida should have jurisdiction.
All right. The answer is yes, he was located in Ohio at the time, but for the purposes of committing a tort in Florida under the long-arm statute, if an intercept, and there's no reason to depart from Mozo in this particular instance, since intercept means that he intercepted the call, strike that, since the law is such that where my client spoke means that the call was intercepted in Florida. In other words, under Mozo and under France and under the definitions of oral communication and other definitions in the statutes, basically race intercepted the calls in Florida. It was enough to commit a tortious act in Florida. It is enough to state that the tort as alleged occurred in Florida, which is really all you need for 1B jurisdiction, or 1A2, excuse me. So.
In the end, the justices were not convinced, and ended up discharging jurisdiction, which means they didn't make a decision either way and accepted the decision made by the District Court of Appeal. The Supreme Court opinion stated, "In the end, while this case presents many interesting issues, we conclude those issues are largely academic in the context of the unique procedural history of this case. As a result, we exercise our discretion, discharge jurisdiction, and dismiss this proceeding." And that's it. It's over. After 3.5 years, David Reyes has finally won for good. For the past 3 years, I have heard Billy claim over and over that David illegally recorded his calls. He even declared this in his other lawsuits.
Why are you suing Mr. Reyes?
I'm suing him because he illegally recorded 27 phone calls between he and I.
But this was never true. It was always a lie. Perhaps now Billy will stop repeating this lie, but I'm really not getting my hopes up. Billy will of course try to sweep this under the rug, just like he always does when he loses a lawsuit. Don't expect an apology from Billy or an admission that this lawsuit was wrongly filed. In fact, if Billy had his way, he would never comment on this again, and everyone would simply forget it ever happened. That's what Billy wants. But I'm sorry, I just can't let that happen. On a more positive note, it really seems like Billy's legal crusade is coming to an end. All of his lawsuits have either been dismissed or settled. Note that Billy has never ever actually won. The only lawsuit Billy has remaining is the one against me. Am I really going to be the only person Billy wins against? Oh boy, wouldn't that just be hilarious. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.